Are red light masks worth the hype? High maintenance to be low maintenance?
We need to debunk that right now, that washing your hair less often can actually aggravate hair loss.
I hate hearing is that you can train your hair to be less greasy. That's not true. Your hair is not a puppy. It cannot be trained. Oil and grease is genetic.
Minoxidil works. People think that minoxidil does the opposite and causes your hair to fall out.
They're afraid of having to be on it for life. They're afraid of killing their dogs and cats. Welcome back to another episode of Skin Deep and Unfiltered. We are so excited to have you guys here because we're tackling the top hair lies that need to be unalived. So yeah, you heard that right. These are the so-called rules that might actually be sabotaging your strands.
So get ready because we're diving into the hair advice you've probably heard a million times, but we're here to tell you why it's totally wrong and science-backed info on why these lies need to be left in the past. And don't worry, we won't just leave you with what not to do. We're going to give you some actionable tips for what actually works so you can have the healthiest, most fabulous hair of your life.
So each of us is taking two common hair lies, breaking them down, and spilling the tea on what you need to know. But before we dive in, I want to remind you to hit the follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to ensure you never miss an episode, and leave a rating or review if you love the tips that we share in today's episode. We appreciate it so much, more than you know, and it will greatly help to grow this podcast. And don't forget, there is a downloadable PDF link in the show notes for you to review all the actionable tips we share in today's episode.
Now, before we start the show, I just want to give a shout out to one of our major sponsors, Beautytips, for sponsoring our podcast. And it's so funny because I love their products and use it all the time, and I actually talk about it frequently on my Instagram stories. And I really love their Extreme Cream line. This moisturizer contains bioactive retinol and peptides along with ceramides. It is a great one-stop shop moisturizer if you're looking for a moisturizer with additional benefits of skin rejuvenation, improving the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and a creamy texture, especially if you are new to retinol or have a hard time tolerating retinol, or say looking for a retinol that really not only you can use on your face, but also neck and chest and other parts of your body. I love this one because it comes in a pump that you can just easily dispense a few pumps of the face, extend that down to your neck and chest, and a few more for your hands or where else you're struggling with anti-aging concerns. It's creamy, but yet lightweight, fast absorbing. It is a wonderful product that you must incorporate into your anti-aging routine. And then for our followers, you are in for a treat because you can use the code SKINDEEP at inbeautyproject.com to receive 15% off your first order of Extreme Cream, or click the link in the show notes to save 15% on your order. Again, that's using the code SKINDEEP at inbeautyproject.com for 15% off your first order.
Okay, well, before we dive into these hair lies, what's going on with my favorite dermfluencers? What's going on in your life, guys?
Okay, sort of funny. Last night, it was so sad. I was blowing on Rob's feet to dry all the crazy glue. I put crazy glue. He has crazy cracked heels. He doesn't listen to any of the derm advice, but he has these crazy cracked heels. So I was just loading crazy glue in each of these cracks, and I was just sitting there blowing on his feet. It was hilarious. That was my evening
really
last
cool
night.
Trick that I don't think we've talked about ever before.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorite hacks for cracked heels.
Mamina, I did not know where you were going with that. You're I was blowing on Rob's feet. I was like, oh, so we're really getting unfiltered today, aren't we? Huh? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was giving his feet a blowjob.
No judgment. This is a no judgment-free zone. I mean, Skin Deep, Unfiltered. Yes. Well, I with all of this crazy weather, my skin has never been drier. But I don't know if you know about this, Mimi. I'm sure you do with where you live. But in my life, I'm preparing for this crazy ball this weekend. I guess, I'm new to the South. I'm new to the coast. And here it is a different world. It is a different culture. And I'm going to this crazy Mardi Gras ball, which is all about debauchery and half naked people and dancing. Do you know about this?
Oh yeah, is it the mom's ball?
It's no, well, on the coast, there's like different from New Orleans all the way to Mobile. You celebrate Mardi Gras, and leading up to Mardi Gras, you have these debaucherous events where everyone goes and you feel like you're in college again, like it's a sorority party.
They
And
have a
I've only
lot of
ever,
those.
yeah, I've only ever been to one since I've moved here, and I'm gearing up for this event where, you get your hair done, you get your makeup done, you wear this like beautiful gown, and then there's like moms who just dance in like glittery outfits to Lil Wayne, and you drink champagne all night.
Oh my God.
I love
So
it.
This
I
sounds so
can't wait.
fun.
I'll have to update you guys after the event, but it might take me a few days to recover from it.
I'll look forward to seeing your outfit on your on your stories. I'm so curious, what are you gonna wear?
I'm just going with an old outfit. I'm honestly super lazy. Everyone around here has been gearing up for this for months. Like my esthetician is overbooked and over busy doing spray tans and microneedling and facials. And I'm just like, well, I'm there for the drama. I'm there for the tea. Like I want to see what's going on. So
Where is it? Is it in Biloxi?
yeah, it's just in like a local, like random venue. I mean, but I think it can go pretty crazy, as you know.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Like the king of the parade or something. What's it called? They always bring in like a celebrity to run the one in New Orleans.
Yeah, for Endymion, they usually have a celebrity
Yeah,
as their king. Yeah.
and
But yeah,
I'm
the balls are
told,
crazy.
yes, I'm told that the king and queen will, contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money to this ball. So
Yeah, to simply
it's
ride in a
legit.
parade, yeah, it's like a couple grand to ride in a parade. So to ride in a float. So yeah, if you're
Have
like
you ever been to
Wow.
one? You've lived there
I've
forever.
yeah, oh yeah, I've been to Mardi Gras balls before and definitely been to parades. I just got invited to ride in a float this year. I don't know yet if I'm gonna do it,
You
but
got to. You got to
I know.
represent for the dermatologists.
Yeah, yeah. It's Mardi Gras. Definitely, if you haven't experienced Mardi Gras, like it's definitely something to experience once.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had my fair share of it, so
Yeah.
I'm
Like
like
a
totally
good.
fine, like hanging out at my house.
My first year that I moved here, I was so excited and I had a 7-month-old baby and I didn't understand what Mardi Gras was. So I drove to New Orleans. I strapped this baby like hangover style on me. And I'm like going down the streets of New Orleans and I just really was not prepared for it. My poor child was like slapped in the face with beads and moon pies. And it was incredible. Like I'll never forget that experience, but I'll never do it again.
I hear ya, totally.
So I'll put on my bucket list one of these days to check
You
Yeah.
off
should.
as a
Yeah.
life
Well,
event.
what's up with you, Jenny? What's going on?
Nothing that exciting. I got like
Wait,
over 9 hours of sleep last night, which
that's
is like,
amazing.
I
Yeah.
know. So I've been having such terrible sleep, partly because I feel like, you guys know, like after kids, I'm a light sleeper to begin with. And then with my youngest one not being the best sleeper, I mean, he still gets up in the middle of the night, given that he's still, with being two, he's just, my daughter was great. They say like if you have a really good sleeper, you're bound to have like a not great one. So we're definitely struggling with him. And so we end up co-sleeping. And I was just, my husband's like, you're always tired. Why don't you try wearing my Apple Watch to actually see how much you're sleeping? Because I just blame all of my moodiness on lack of sleep, which is true. Like I definitely don't get
Reasonable.
enough sleep. Yeah. So last night, well, I also went to bed at like 7:30 because we were still getting over this cold. But I got up this morning and I'm like, I cannot believe I slept for 9 hours. I was like, I didn't think my body was capable of that. And as you get older, I feel like all the skincare and all that stuff. I was like, sleep is the most important thing you can do for your whole
Yeah.
just wellness and skin, everything else. But like I have been so sleep deprived. But like, yeah, I was like, oh my God, hallelujah. I woke up this morning. I was like, 9 hours.
You're like a new
It's
person.
New
amazing.
person. Yes. So that's exciting
Wait,
me.
Jenny, that's amazing. Also, aren't you turning 40 like
Like tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's
I know, right? Catch up on my
nuts.
beauty sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, yeah. So I'm gonna just do like keep it low key. My husband's like, we'll bring you breakfast in bed. I was like, I wake up the earliest of all of you guys, but sure, I'll force myself in bed. You and the kids can bring me some pancakes.
That's so cute.
But I booked myself a really nice like spa, and then I think my husband and I are gonna go out for dinner, just like low key. And then
I
probably,
love that.
like do something with friends later on next month or something. It's just so hard, when you have
Yeah.
like for us, like to get a babysitter or have parents help out watching the kids. Like I kind of feel guilty mostly because my father-in-law already watches my youngest. My daughter goes to school. So I feel like with all the traveling I've been doing, he's already like doing far and beyond. So grateful. But so that means like when we do want to do something, my husband and I, it's just like I try to like minimize that. Just I feel, I
Yeah.
don't want to over ask. And but tomorrow I'm gonna have him
It's
come
so
over
much
and
harder
yeah.
with
Ugh.
babies. When
Yeah.
I turned 40, I was pregnant. I was like 37 weeks pregnant. So we still didn't have a baby around. So we were able to have a huge party, which
Yeah.
was so much fun.
I
But
love
that
that.
was interesting. But you should
The
definitely do
mom
something with your
Yeah.
friends.
the mom
Yeah.
guilt is so real though. I was listening
Yeah.
to a speech the other day from I think Shonda Rhimes. It was what she said, and she started it out by saying, people ask me all the time, how do I do it all? And the answer is, I don't do it all. So
Mm.
when you see me succeeding on social media, for example, that means I'm failing somewhere else. That means I'm missing my daughter's Christmas play. Or if I'm at my daughter's Mardi Gras float or her PK1 program, then I'm potentially missing out on an opportunity to advance my career, or I'm missing out on time with my husband to build that relationship. So, I mean, that really stuck with me because I feel
Yeah.
guilt all of the time. Like when I'm with my kids,
Mhm.
I think, oh, I should be working on my social media more. I need to be reading this JAD article to help my patients. But really, no one really is doing it all. You have to be failing a
Mm-mm.
little bit somewhere. So I just try to give myself grace. But
Yeah.
yeah, it really is. Mom
Mhm.
guilt is next level.
Yeah. No, I
It's a
hear
real thing.
you.
We should have like a whole episode devoted to that. It's a real
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
for sure. But I
But I
love
also feel
that.
like we don't need to do it all. Like, I don't know why there
Totally.
is this like, like notion like you have to be able to do it all. To be like, no, I think it's okay to acknowledge like I'm struggling,
Yeah,
I'm
I
failing
think
in
there's a
some
lot of like
mm,
false or
yeah.
weird standards for women,
Mm-hmm.
like both at home, in the workforce, career-wise, and I don't know, I feel like that needs to change.
But
Yeah.
I think to be successful, you have to have a little bit of perfectionism and type A in you. And
Yeah.
so it's really hard when you're so driven to just shut that off and chill and
Mm-hmm.
relax. Like my
Yeah.
husband always says, like, will you just sit down? I'm like, I can't sit down because there's always things that need to be done.
Yeah, no,
There's always
I feel
something.
like your mind is like always like, thinking like 10 steps ahead. Like, I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, I totally get, I know how that feels. Ugh.
All right, guys, I really need to share something with you. So, we've all been through postpartum hair loss, and I had 2 kids, so definitely experienced it twice. And the one device that I relied on and I've been using now for 4 years is from iRestore to help with my postpartum hair loss. And I'm super excited that they're a sponsor for our Skin Deep podcast. So, iRestore is a laser device, health device, and I'm putting mine on right now. Essentially, it's like a bike helmet, but with LED lights on the inside that you wear a few times a week and really supports your hair growth journey. And I used it both times, really more religiously second time around, and it made a huge difference for my postpartum hair loss. And I really love the fact that with iRestore, they have trials in a 4-month double-blind clinical trial done by dermatologists. 100% of the study participants grew more hair with the iRestore laser and LED technology. And listeners, iRestore is offering you a $625 off with their elite device using code SKINDEEP that has 282 lasers and LED lights. You're getting the whole real deal with hair regrowth and also a 12-month money back guarantee. We all know with devices, it takes time to grow hair. I mean, with any treatment, it takes time. And a lot of times you won't even see results until 6 to 7 months. So I really love the fact that they offer you this 12-month money back guarantee so that way you can try it out risk-free. For a limited time only, our listeners will get $625 off their iRestore Elite when you use code SKINDEEP at irestorelaser.com. That's $625 off your iRestore Elite at iRestore.com with the promotion code SKINDEEP.
Well, all right. Well, let's get to some dermatology stuff. Let's kick the episode off by diving into a quick rapid fire where we share our thoughts on whether or not trending skincare, health, and beauty hacks are worth the hype or not. So let's dive into that.
Okay, let's start with red light masks. I mean, I think if anyone follows us, this question is answered, but are red light masks worth the hype?
Yes.
Yeah, I think of all the devices out there, this is like one that I definitely recommend and use myself personally. I still use it. It's great. It's a great addition. It's not like necessary, but certainly definitely worth the hype. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it doesn't replace your skincare, but it can definitely support your skin care goals. And there's a lot of evidence out there. I think there's a lot, just too much to ignore. And
Mhm.
whenever I stopped using mine for like a week, I noticed a difference. I was like, wait, I need to use this again. So
Yeah.
I'm on board with it.
I think it's one of those things that it's worth the investment and it's high maintenance to be low maintenance, right? Like it's a
Mhm.
lot of money, but once you get the one piece and it's a good piece, you're good for who knows how long those things last, but a very long
Yeah.
time. And it really isn't that much time out of your day. Like mine are flexible, so I just pop it on, I watch TV and it's done before I know it.
Yeah.
100% worth the hype.
We sh Yeah, we should totally do a episode on this because there's so many brands. I think that's the other thing too, is like we get asked about like which one is this one good? Is that one good? But aside from like the anti-aging, I actually told my friend to get one for the acne, and she has noticed actually aside from the acne, it's like her pores look
Mhm.
tighter and better. So yeah, there is a lot of benefits, not just for anti-aging for fine lines, wrinkles, but also if you have like acne, I think you can definitely benefit from that too. Morpheus 8 isn't worth the hype.
This one I think is a little controversial, and I think it depends on whether you ask derms or you ask plastic surgeons. But I personally love it. I've had it done. My skin has never looked tighter than when I did Morpheus 8. It was painful, but I recommend it.
I completely agree. I think that it's one of those things where it's person dependent and also user dependent. Who's the one performing the procedure? Do they have
Mhm.
experience with it? Do they know and understand the settings and how deep the needles are going and making sure that they're using it in the right candidate? I personally have had it done. It's been a while, but I remember when I had it done, I loved the results.
And I second all of that. I think yes. Is it right for you? You need to see a experienced provider for assessment, and then obviously see an experienced provider for the treatment. But it can be definitely worth it.
All right, collagen peptide supplements. Is it worth the hype?
Hmm. I love mine. And I take Verisol collagen. That's the one I've been taking for the past almost a year now. And I've noticed the biggest difference is actually my skin hydration. I mean, overall my skin looks pretty good, but the hydration, especially in the wintertime, it's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worth the hype, but you have to have realistic expectations. It's not going to make you look like you've had Botox. It's going to add a bit of hydration and tightness and glow to your skin.
Mhm.
That's about it.
Yeah, I would say if I had to pick, I would say it's worth the hype. And Jenny, I agree with the Verisol. I think that's where we have the most evidence. I think we still need more evidence. So it's sort of collagen peptide dependent. So the thing with collagen peptides is, yes, we know that it can potentially help the skin. Collagen is also in other parts of our body, whether it's like our arteries, our ligaments, tendons. So and joints. And so, it's possible that it may not all be going to your skin, but it could be helping out with these other areas in your body.
I think there's an overwhelming amount of research now that we can't ignore that it is helpful. We just have to, again, set realistic expectations and not rely on that to fix everything.
Absolutely. It helps. It's a good complement, but does not replace skincare or professional procedures.
Okay, what do we think about salmon sperm? Salmon sperm facials, are they worth the hype?
I think that the first of all, the phrase I think is amazing, salmon
Yeah.
sperm. I think that's amazing. So clearly, we don't have regulation for salmon sperm and getting that injected into our face here in the US. I know it's done all the time. It seems like in South Korea, it's a huge thing. And I'm not going to lie, if I go to South Korea, I would probably get it done. But
Me
just
too.
because I'm seeing
Mhm.
like great and amazing results, but it's not something that I can recommend wholeheartedly to my patients in good faith right now here in the US. Because I know there are some places in the US doing it.
I 100% agree. When I was in Seoul in China this past summer, it's super popular, and the broadened term is called actually skin boosters. And I think that they definitely have better, more options because you can use hyaluronic acid, collagen, but it's meant to kind of give you that superficial glow. And so, very trending in Asia. I think we're just not quite ready for it. Hopefully, in the future. I mean, we do have one product from Allergan that's supposed to mimic that, but yeah, it's not something I would typically recommend patients to get it here in like North America.
I think that the name salmon sperm facial is meant to shock you. It's not legitimately, they're not just like milking a salmon and getting the sperm and injecting it into your face. It's way more, there's way more formulation and sterility that's involved. But I personally would get it done. If I went to Korea, I would not get it done in the US yet, but I do use some topicals that use the same kind of ingredient, the PDRN, from Korea, and I've noticed a big difference in my skin, especially like hydration.
Head and Shoulder shampoo as a face wash, worth the hype.
So for me, I think it's person dependent. It's not something that I would just blanket statement recommend to everyone, of course. But interestingly, anti-dandruff shampoo, it depends on also the ingredients, but zinc, which is something that you'd see in something like Head and Shoulders, parathione zinc, can have some anti-inflammatory properties, and it can target yeast. And if people have yeast issues on their face, like seborrheic dermatitis, which is essentially dandruff on the face, or even something called pyrosporum folliculitis, which other people like to refer to as fungal acne, there can be some benefit. I think in some people it can be drying, so I would just be cautious. Ketoconazole is another one, the Nizoral shampoo.
Yeah, I think that if you're just a regular person not treating any medical conditions, you don't need to do it. Just go with a gentle cleanser. But if you truly have some medical dermatologic issues, dandruff of the face, fungal acne, like Mamita mentioned, it could be a game changer.
100% agree. I think I recommend it to my patients to use it as a face and or body wash if they suffer from sebderm, dandruff,
Mhm.
or even like tinea versicolor can be a good treatment and prevention. But yeah, it's not for like everyone. Definitely don't need it if you don't have those concerns.
All right, guys. Well, that rapid fire is over. Let's dive into the meat of the episode. I think what a lot of people want to hear, because this is one of the most common things that I get asked on social media and in my patients in clinic, are hair lies. So, what are some hair lies that you think we need to unalive?
Oh my gosh, I feel like there's so many out there, but one of the things that really bothers me is people thinking that they need to wash their hair less often because hair washing is what is causing their hair loss. That one bugs me. We need to debunk that right now. That washing your hair less often leads to hair loss, sorry, helps your hair. No, washing your hair less often can actually aggravate hair loss. So that's my big one.
Yeah. So, I can't tell you how many times patients have come in and said, I pretty much stopped washing my hair because every time you wash your hair, you notice more hair loss. And I can speak to this very, very sincerely because this happened to me. And I can't wait to show you guys pictures. I wonder if I can link this, but I lost probably 40% of my hair after my last baby. And I have the receipts to prove it. And even though I intellectually knew what was going on as a dermatologist, it didn't make it any less devastating. And every time I would go to take a shower, I was just in tears, watching all of that hair go down the drain. And so, really, to think about it scientifically, why does it seem like you're losing hair in the shower? That's because that's when you're actually putting like tension and you're pulling on your hair because you're washing it. And so that hair, it has already fallen out. It's just still kind of hanging
Exactly.
on. And so you not washing your hair is only making the problem worse. So you're just noticing it more in the shower because that's when it's naturally coming out. And like Mamina mentioned, to not wash your hair creates an unhealthy microbiome in your scalp, creates an unhealthy scalp environment to allow more dandruff to accumulate, flakes to accumulate, grease, oil, sebum buildup. That is only going to aggravate your scalp And an unhealthy scalp leads to unhealthy hair. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we look at things that are kind of creates oxidative stress in the scalp, UV and sebum plus melasthesia, those are the like top three things we know about that really affects your scalp health. And remember that hair grows from within your scalp. So really, when you are struggling with hair thinning, you definitely want to keep your scalp healthy and maintain that health component before you work on growing hair. So hair washing is definitely really important. I guess one of the questions I always get is like, what is the right frequency of hair washing you should be doing, right? Like, how do you guys tackle that? Because it's so hard because it's so personal, right?
Definitely, it's personable. It depends on hair type, and I usually try to find out what that person's baseline is and go from there. But, typically, like I said, it depends on, like, how much of an oil producer you are and your hair type, but either every other day, ranging from daily to 2 to 3 times a
Mm.
week, I would say. But then if you have more textured or really curly hair, then once a week is typically what I tell people to go for.
Yeah, I get that question all the time, also from my patients and followers, especially if you have, again, curly hair, textured hair, and it's not, and especially for working women too. Like it's not practical or fun to wash your hair all the time. And I hate when people go online and they're like, just wash your hair, just wash your hair. Like you're doing all these tips and tricks to avoid washing your hair. Well, I mean, it can take a couple of hours for some people to do it. So you really have to be respectful to someone's personal life
Mm.
and personal preference and ethnicity and background when you're telling someone to wash their hair. So you really, when I see patients and they're telling me I can't wash my hair more than once a week or every 2 weeks, then we have to talk about alternative options to keep their scalp microbiome and skin
Mhm.
healthy. So I like to tell people that, especially if they're suffering from dandruff or an itchy scalp, they do have these very nice leave-in oils that don't contribute more to and don't feed to that malassezia or that yeast in the scalp, and actually contain ingredients like zinc parathione, which can target that yeast as a leave-in treatment and also moisturize the scalp.
Yeah, that's great. It's you don't want your scalp to get greasy essentially. If you feel like it's greasy, it's time to wash your hair. And it's also okay to wash your hair every day if you need to, if you have like really oily scalp
Exactly.
too. Yeah, so totally okay. You're not, like we just said, you're not causing more hair to fall out. What you're seeing in the shower is just ones already shed, but kind of caught up in your tresses that you're just loosening up with shampooing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
think that's a nice segue into what my lie was going to be, that you really people believe, and it is perpetuated on social media like time and time again, and I believe this until I was a dermatologist, that you can train your hair to be less greasy. So I can't tell you how many people who believe that, and I was a victim of it too, thinking that if you just wash your hair less often that you eventually produce less oil, and that it couldn't be further from the truth. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that one does bug me. I'm trying to understand how that myth would even have come about. Like I could theoretically, like maybe I could understand how, if you are drying out your scalp by overwashing it in quotes, that your skin can overcompensate, but that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Your scalp produces oil, and I think there's a lot of complicated reasons, or it's more complex in terms of what drives oil. I think there's a lot of internal
Mhm.
factors and
Mhm.
a lot of genetic factors too.
Yeah.
It's not just what you're putting on your scalp.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like when people say you can train your scalp to be less greasy, it's almost like saying I can change my skin type. Like,
Mhm,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But like,
mhm.
no, that doesn't work. And like Mamina said, we all kind of have a baseline sebum production that is genetically determined, but then also like stress, hormones. Like
For
I'm
sure.
actually
Totally.
more greasy now after my second kid.
Hmm.
Before, I would actually be like a twice a week at most hair washing type of gal. Now I'm like every other day, sometimes even daily, because I've just gotten so much more greasy. And with that, I've actually suffered quite a bit of dandruff after my second baby.
Uh-huh.
And so it certainly changes, with age, with environment, with hormones. So it's not something you can just like train your scalp to do.
Yeah. I always say your hair is not a puppy. You can't train
Mm.
it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That
Um, yeah. Speaking of, sorry, greasy hair. So if people have like greasy hair or dandruff prone, are there any favorite like over the counter products or shampoos that you've been loving for patients who, or even just followers who want to start with something before doing a prescription?
I think that, I love, first off, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, and I don't care, and I will stand by this till the day I die, that drugstore shampoos are great. Um, so come at me
Totally.
if you want. You don't have to use it. I'm not coming to your house, taking your high-end shampoos and putting drugstore shampoos in your bathroom. Like, so God forbid I recommend something that's affordable and effective. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent because I recently
No.
posted a lot
I feel
about
the
drugstore
pain.
skin,
Yeah,
and
no.
I've had people say like they're going to write me a Google review, ripping me apart in my practice because I am ruining people's hair. I'm just like, what is
Oh my
happening?
God.
But
Oh my
anyway,
gosh.
like I don't think people realize that these drugstore brands are owned by this mother company that owns drugstore and high end, right? So
Hmm.
they're all kind of under the same,
Yeah.
mother brand.
Right.
And that's not to say that higher end shampoos aren't great. There's definitely good ones, but if you're balling on a budget and in this economy, you want to save some money and get affordable hair care, by all means, do
Yeah.
that. With that being said, I like
Mhm.
I like Pantene Volume Body and Volume. I think that's a really great shampoo if you are on the oily side. It really does add some body and volume with some of the surfactants that it uses. It's like this super luxurious, really nice lather.
Mhm.
I wouldn't recommend it if you have a dry scalp, but it lathers so luxuriously. That has been a
Mhm.
recent favorite of mine. What do you guys like?
Hey guys, I just want to interrupt. First of all, I want to give a shout out to one of the skincare brands I love that is near and dear to my heart. And I'm super excited they're a major sponsor of our podcast, and that is In Beauty Project. And if you follow me on social media like Instagram, you know I frequently share their product on my Instagram stories. So whether you're 25 or 65, there's one product that really should be in your routine, and it's just little bit under $50, which is really affordable for a big product of retinol, which these days can be quite expensive. And I'm talking about their extreme cream. You guys know I share this so many times on my Instagram stories. I love it because it's nourishing, elegant, creamy texture that acts as a moisturizer, but with additional benefits of bioretinol, peptides, and ceramide. So not only are you getting skin plumping benefits, collagen support, improving the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, but you're also nourishing your skin and supporting your skin barrier. This large bottle comes in a pump, easy to dispense. You can use it on your face and neck, chest, wherever you need for anti-aging concerns. It's also fragrance free, so really great for our sensitive skin friends. And I also love the fact it comes in a miniature size for travel friendly. That is what I pack with me when I'm on the go. So you're never missing your anti-aging product, even when you're traveling. And right now, you can use the code SKINDEEP at inbeautyproject.com to receive 15% off your first order of your extreme cream. Or click the link in the show notes below to save 15% on your order. Again, that's code SKINDEEP at inbeautyproject.com to receive your 15% off of your first order.
I mean, I just love a good old Head and Shoulders. I mean, they have a few
Yeah.
different formulations. The most recent one, like the Bear one, I really like because that's like for those who are maybe wanting like minimalist ingredients, works really well. And I have like color treated hair. I curl my hair. So I'm like one of the people that have like oily scalp, but also dry hair. So I'm always looking for shampoos that help tackle my dandruff, but at the same time won't like wreck my hair. So I love that. And then CeraVe recently launched their anti-dandruff shampoo line, which, oh my gosh, I don't know what it is about this brand, but like they're able to make like honestly elegant hair care products without fragrance, which like hair care is one of those where like I actually want scent. I want it to smell good. That experience, like the sensorial experience, is really important. So when I first tried it, I was like, this is not, I'm not gonna like it. But it lathers really nicely and it's really gentle on hair too. So I really like that. And then I love Vichy, their Durcos, which has selenium disulfide that's a little bit stronger than the zinc for like more moderate dandruff. And then good old Nizoral, but that I find to be the most drying on hair, and I personally use it myself. And so I feel like because they're more elegant ones, it's like one that I use the least, but definitely does help.
Okay, I feel like you took the words right out of my mouth, Jenny. I love all those. Okay, so I have personally been using the CeraVe
Mm.
anti-dandruff
Yeah.
shampoo,
What
not
do you think?
because I have dandruff, but because I think
Yeah.
it makes my hair so hydrated.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
like, not bad, right?
Right. Yeah.
I am a
Have
huge,
you
so I've
tried
been
their
loving it.
hydrating line? Have you tried
No,
their
that's the one I
okay.
should be using because, but like
Yeah.
I already have like this opened
I know.
anti-dandruff one for trying that. But
Yeah.
but I do love that. And I've also been impressed by the Vichy Durkos line
Mhm.
with the selenium sulfide, and Head and Shoulders
Yeah.
has been like such a long-standing oldie but goodie for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say those are my drugstore ones. But Lindsay, it's so interesting that you were talking about how you were getting hate for recommending drugstore shampoos, because I would say one of the most vengeful comment section that I've ever encountered was me recommending a specific drugstore
Mm-hmm.
shampoo product. And I
Mm.
have never been so reamed out before in my life.
Yeah, I
So,
remember
so
you
I don't know
telling me
what it
about
is.
that.
It was
It's
wild. We
like,
had to turn off I just had to turn the comments off. It
yes.
was
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, in my mind, I feel like it's the same thing as like drugstore cleansers are great. And I feel like people love that, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. Shampoo is
People are like
basically a
touchy about
cleanser for
their
your
hair.
scalp.
They
Yeah.
are. Well, the thing that I see the comment a lot when I've
Mm.
recommended some drugstore brands is, well, don't you know there's a lawsuit against them for making
Oh my gosh. Yes.
the comments will say, didn't you
Mm-hmm.
see that there's a lawsuit out there for making your hair fall out with these drugstore shampoos? This really grinds my gears, guys. Like
Yeah.
anyone can file a lawsuit. That doesn't make it legitimate. And I hate that
Yeah.
argument. Like I could file a lawsuit saying the same thing about anyone and anything. A lawsuit doesn't make something real. And if
Right.
it truly did that, then it wouldn't be on the market. It wouldn't be allowed to be on the market. And in all of the years that I've practiced, when I have seen a patient for hair loss, it's never been a shampoo that caused it.
Yeah, like these
Yeah.
products go through safety testing. But they're not for everyone, right? So it's true, some people can have maybe like allergic contact dermatitis, but that is not just specific to that shampoo. It can be to ingredients that can be used in other products. And if they were to use that like another product with the same ingredient, they can have a reaction. But yeah, I totally agree. These lawsuits are so unfounded. And really, I feel like it's not just to the brands. I mean, it really ruins reputation. And it's like it's really sad. I feel like because there's some great, amazing drugstore products out there for skin and hair. And it's just it's boggles my mind that things like
Yeah,
that happened.
it's
Yeah,
it's a weird, touchy
yeah,
subject. I don't know
I
what
know.
it
Yeah.
is. It's a weird, touchy subject. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's see. I know we have some other hair lies to
Well,
unalive. How about you, Jenny?
speaking of shampoos,
Yes.
the one thing, talking about hair thinning, the one thing that really bugs me is when shampoos say like it stimulates hair growth, or people believe like using, and certainly shampoos, we just talked about it, it's so important for your scalp health. And certainly there may be some shampoos that can kind of create that foundation. But you really want to be careful relying on one product to grow hair, in the sense like shampoos alone are not going to stimulate your hair growth, neither will just taking supplements alone, but they
Mhm.
can be potentially a helpful part of the regimen. But I think any shampoo that is marketed to grow hair, you have to just take it with a grain of salt. And certainly, like, it may be doing things indirectly, but it's not going to stimulate hair growth, just because
Mhm.
like I think technologically and science-wise, we haven't gotten there. The short contact time, I think in my mind, doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
You really need to have a longer contact time to stimulate anything. And so can be a good part of a complement to your hair loss treatment, but you should never rely on shampoos alone to help with hair growth.
You know what I find ironic though are the shampoos. There's like 99% of shampoos truly cannot help with hair growth, but there is like a small 1% that do, and they are not the ones that market their products for
Yeah.
hair growth. And what I'm talking about are shampoos. Again, I think if you take anything away from this is anti-dandruff shampoos can be good for a lot of people for a lot of different
Yeah.
reasons, but it's the ingredients in anti-dandruff shampoos like ketoconazole, which we can talk about, and zinc parathione, which we know can create a healthy scalp environment to stimulate a good environment for hair to be thicker and fuller, as
Yeah.
well as with ketoconazole can actually inhibit an enzyme that can cause hair to fall out essentially. So I think that's funny that you bring that up because there's so many out there that are like, this has biotin, this can grow your hair. No, it actually can't. But the ones that are more medical, that aren't marketed towards that can actually help.
Right. Oh, I love that
Yeah.
because there have been studies that have been shown like ketoconazole and zinc P when you pair it, use it alone or pair with a minoxidil, you actually get better results when you use it together with topical minoxidil than just like minoxidil alone. But also, like I bet all of us probably prescribe because patients when they come in for hair loss, even if you just recommend things over the counter, I think they sometimes want something prescription, right? It
Yeah.
feels like you're doing something. And the one thing that I will prescribe when they want something is ketoconazole 2% because that's the only thing we can prescribe over the prescription. And so that's one thing that I will like if they're wanting something shampoo wise is I'll write that Nizoral 2% for them to help again with reducing the sebum, the yeast, creating a healthier environment for hair growth.
Yeah, no, I love this topic because weirdly, anyone who deals with hair loss, this is the impression that I get from my followers, from my patients. Anyone who deals with hair loss, their first question is, what shampoo can I get to help with my hair loss? It's like they don't even understand that there's a concept of like hair growth serums and like other medicines and prescriptions that can do a significantly better job at helping with hair regrowth and just preventing hair loss. So I don't know what it is. And you're right, Jenny, like it's a short contact therapy. So it's not like the number one thing we recommend. I definitely prescribe 2% ketoconazole shampoo to my patients with hair loss, especially androgenic hair loss. But it's like, no, that's not the thing that I'm relying on to assist people with their hair growth. It's so much more than just that. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but minoxidil as a hair serum is what people should be paying more attention to if they're struggling with hair loss than like as a leave-on product as opposed to a wash-off shampoo.
Yeah, but people are scared to death of minoxidil for some reason. They
They
have
think it's
so
going to
many
cause hair
questions.
loss.
They're afraid of the hair shed. They're afraid of having to be on it for life. They're afraid of killing their dogs and cats. Like that has become huge on social media. I can't even say the word minoxidil without someone screaming like, "Don't! You're killing my dog and cat!" Like gosh, you can't win. Like here we are giving free advice on social media, not medical advice, but just giving our tips and tricks that we went to school for. And you can never win.
Yeah.
Can we make
You know?
that a hair lie to unalive? Is that people like that minoxidil works? People think that minoxidil does the opposite and causes your hair to fall out. And I would say we can understand that because it can cause initial shedding to sort of recalibrate your hairs to grow and align in the same hair cycle. So some hair has to fall out. And it can take up to 6 months to notice hair growth starting. So it can be so discouraging. So most people will give up even before the 3-month mark. And that's the thing I think that people are so scared about. And they're scared that once they stop it, all the hair is going to fall back out again. Yes, you may have some hair shedding, but your hair is not going to be worse off at all. Your hair's not going to be worse off from having done it. People also think that with Botox, too. They think having done Botox, their wrinkles are going to come back even worse. And that's not the case either.
I hear that all the time. They're so freaked out. They're like, well, do I have to keep doing this forever? It's not like when you dye your hair, right? Like when you dye your hair, say blonde, and you're a brunette and it starts to grow out. Well, you kind of have to do something about that, unless you don't care. That by all means, do whatever you want. But with Botox and minoxidil, it just kind of like wears off and you go back to what you used to. So they're really safe things to try.
Yeah. I mean, the only time where it's like, if there's a hair loss condition like androgenic alopecia that is chronic and progressive, yes, you do have to use, if you get good results, you do have to keep using it. And if you stop, it will eventually kind of just, go back to your natural course. But like if
Exactly.
you're just like postpartum or say going through a stressful event and want a little bit temporary boost because you're noticing a little bit thinning, use the minoxidil. And afterwards, when you stop, you may be a little bit less, but you're not going to lose your whole head of hair. Yeah.
Totally.
And then the dog and cat thing, I mean, certainly that, but also like, I don't know. I mean, I have a dog. I don't let him come close to anything that I put on my skin. So just be careful. Like, and this is not the only thing that can be dangerous. I think it's more dangerous for cats because they don't have the enzyme to metabolize minoxidil. So like, just don't have your pet lick your hand. I mean, after putting on minoxidil, you should probably be washing your hands anyway. don't, like just kind of common sense things, right?
Yeah,
But
and I think you can also people always say to my response like, "Well, I'm afraid they're going to they sleep by my head and what about my pillow?" Well, what you can do, and this is a benefit to your hair anyway, is put a silk bonnet on. So, put the minoxidil
love
on,
that.
let it dry for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, then put a silk bonnet on and your little puppies and cats are safe.
Speaking which of supplements, I mean, I think we've talked about this to death, but maybe it's worth bringing up is biotin. Like that does not help with hair growth, and why we, even when I was in a resident, we used to recommend it, but now we know there's actually not only not helpful, it may potentially cause other maybe undesired side effects, namely like abnormal lab results and stuff. And so I would say that is the other one that we should talk about, just because it's still out there in supplements,
Yeah.
and
It's
people ask,
a
yeah.
huge supplement, and everyone thinks that when people think of hair loss, they think, "Oh, we have to take biotin," and it's in a lot of really popular supplement
Mhm.
ingredients. But if you scour the literature, there really aren't any great studies to show that it helps with hair loss. But what's interesting, and you also mentioned too that there's this concern that it can alter lab results for people with, concern for
Mhm.
a heart attack and people who have thyroid issues too. Um, what's
Mhm.
interesting, there is a company who's so freaking popular. It's that Sugar Bear Hair.
Oh, yeah.
They have biotin
Mhm.
in their gummies, and that's like the main ingredient that they use. So a lot of
Mm.
brands think that biotin, even though there aren't studies,
Mhm.
they still truly believe that biotin is what
Yeah.
helps with hair growth.
Yeah.
And some people went after Sugar Bear Hair because of the biotin, and Sugar Bear Hair came back and they actually put 6,000, like they upped it from 5,000 to 6,000, like after getting all the
What?
backlash. They're like, not only are we keeping
Yeah.
biotin, we're actually upping it because
Oh my
we feel
gosh.
that
Yeah.
comfortable and confident
Oh my
about biotin.
gosh. Oh
So
my god, crazy.
there's so many brands that just
Yeah.
feel, very
Yeah.
confident about it. Like
Mhm.
Nutrafol has
Yeah.
biotin.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Um,
I wonder though, do you think they feel confident in it or it's such a perpetuated myth that if someone were
Oh.
to be looking at the ingredients and they're like, well, there's no biotin in here, I wonder if maybe that's why
Yeah.
they're doing it because everyone
Oh.
believes it and thinks it
Yeah.
except derms that they're like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it up until recently they were like, well, it can't really hurt. It's just a vitamin. So like,
Mhm.
let's throw it in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Because I get that question all the time. I'll say, I don't recommend biotin. I do like Nutrafol. And
Mhm.
people say, "Well, why is there biotin in Nutrafol? You said you don't like biotin." And I also maybe think that they just Nutrafol, for example, really wants to cover every
Mhm.
aspect of hair loss. And
Mhm. Mhm.
even though the chances of being biotin deficient and having hair loss because of that are like minuscule, they're like, "Well, let's just put it in here because we want
Yeah.
to catch everything."
I
yeah.
agree. Well, and also like the supplements that we do recommend, there's very few, but I think we all really like Nutrafol and then the Viscals. They both
Mhm.
have, but it's not the biotin alone. I mean, if you look at the studies, it's their proprietary blend, so it may
Mhm.
have it. But what we are saying is like don't take biotin alone and think that's going to be helpful,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, the only time I would recommend biotin is actually when patients come in with like nail issues. I do find that biotin can help with nails, and
Mhm.
it's one of those things where it's like overall probably the risk of taking biotin, if you like really want to take it, is low, unless if you have thyroid disease or you have heart issues and you need to get labs. It may just make the lab results abnormal or false, but otherwise I think overall risk is low. It's just you're not getting benefit. And so if you're spending all, and it's not expensive, but like if you are going to spend money on something, I just recommend doing like taking something that's going to actually backed by more science than biotin.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also have to comment, I'm an advisor for this company called Beauty Core, and they have really cool like probiotic technology with probiotics helping with collagen production and also helping with hair regrowth,
Mhm.
which is cool. But there's biotin in it. I'm like, why? Wait, why do you have biotin in here? Like, let's just focus
I
on the
know, right?
probiotics. But I
Yeah.
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying. Like, it's the joining of all the
Mhm.
ingredients, and it
Yeah.
can maybe be supportive but we like the other
Yeah.
ingredients in these
Yeah. Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because most of the time hair loss is multifactorial. So
Yeah.
it's like it's not just due to what you're eating. It could be due to an anemia. It could be vitamin D deficiency. It could be stress. It could be hormones. It could be all of those things. And so what I think those supplements and nutraceuticals address is all of those things. Now,
Yes.
is that the right move? I don't know. I'm not the one to decide what's right for you and what's not, but
Yeah.
I think it's the best we have because hair loss is complicated. And then, to be honest, we understand it, but we don't. There's so much more to know
There's
about
so
it.
much more.
So much more. And we're just at our limitations. And it kills me when people come in and they really want to know the answer. And I feel that, like, as a scientist, as a doctor, I want to know the answer. I want to know why this is happening, but we are limited. We may never have that answer. So I try to tell people, don't fixate on that, because that could lead to more hair loss from the stress that you just trying to find this answer. Like, let me just help you with the tools that I have. And it may not be perfect, but it's the best I can do.
I love that, Lindsay, because I feel like that's half of my patients. Like, not just hair loss, but even rashes and eczema, common things. People want to know so much why. And I tell them, like, I, as a dermatologist, we've been practicing for over 10 plus years. I know what it is. I can probably get you better. But gosh, I probably can't tell you why this has happened. Aside from the fact that maybe there is a genetic tendency, and then you throw on top of that maybe environmental triggers or stress or whatever, and then bam. Because they're like, I've never had eczema all my life, but now all of a sudden I have eczema or I have sepderm. So it's one of those things where you can go crazy trying to wrap your brains around why, but we can't, there's probably not one thing. And then, gosh, I was going to say something else too about will come to me. Oh, the one supplement I do recommend taking is vitamin D. I've caught so many vitamin D deficiencies, and my patients would come in with hair loss. And, it could just be that majority of my patients are darker skin tone. And, in Minneapolis here, especially in the winter, there's like no sun. But literally, I swear, all of my hair loss patients who are darker skin, they have like no vitamin D level. So that is the one thing that I do recommend taking just for overall health too, because we know vitamin D bone and like maybe immunomodulating benefits too. But that's the one thing I recommend taking.
Yeah, I'm a big vitamin D proponent. Well, it can get a little bit controversial. Also, like, a lot of blood tests aren't like covering it. Like, insurance companies aren't covering the vitamin D labs, which is annoying. But yeah, I totally agree. I think it plays a huge role, but it kind of shows a larger picture. It just goes to show that hair loss isn't just a local disease. To me, I think it's a systemic disease, and there's something else going on internally, and we're doing our best as dermatologists to really help get to the root cause. And like both Lindsay and Jenny said, there's like still just so much we don't know. And I think we're learning more and more. There's just so many new discoveries now occurring with like the connection with the microbiome and just other random environmental factors that could be playing a role. But yeah, it's a full body situation, and it's way more complex than just adding Rogaine. But Rogaine does help.
For sure.
Genetics plays a big role. Genetics, is what can make somebody more predisposed. And then, the environmental factors sort of can set things off. And this is the other hair lie that I was thinking about. Speaking of genetics, is a lot of people say that your hair loss is from your mom's side. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, mom or dad. Yeah.
It's both. Yeah, I think it's both sides. I've treated thousands, if not tens of thousands of patients with hair loss, and it could go either way. So don't just blame your mom, guys.
Yeah.
Don't just blame your mom.
Leave your mom out of this.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything.
Yeah. Genetics is complex.
Okay, guys, before we wrap up today's episode, let's do a quick recap of the top hair lies we need to unalive.
All right. So for me, I definitely recommend that if you are noticing hair loss, to not be scared of seeing that hair falling out in the shower. Do not prolong the time between your hair washings. Keep on the same schedule and making sure that you're using shampoos that can help with the inflammation and the grease in your scalp. Sorry, I don't know if I like that. I'm going to do that again because that was like kind of long-winded and not to the point. I'm going to say that again. Okay, hair lie that I think we definitely need to hair lie that we definitely need to unalive is to not wash your hair as often when you notice hair loss. We want you to wash your hair the same or more often if you are noticing hair loss. The other hair lie is that minoxidil doesn't work. It does work, you just got to give it a chance.
Yeah, what about you, Jenny? What's yours?
Do not solely rely on shampoos for hair growth. They're really important keeping your scalp healthy, but shampoos alone will not do it. Use the right shampoo to keep your scalp healthy. And if you are losing hair, consider actually using an anti-dandruff shampoo, one that contains ketoconazole or zinc P that can keep your scalp healthy, reduce oxidative stress.
Okay, mine is the lie that I hate hearing is that you can train your hair to be less greasy. That's not true. Your hair is not a puppy. It cannot be trained. Oil and grease is genetic. It will always be there. Wash your hair if you need to wash your hair. If you're oily, use a clarifying shampoo or something with surfactants to help with the grease.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We're thrilled to keep bringing you insights on skincare, health, and everyday life. Don't forget to check the show notes for a downloadable PDF with all the main points from today's episode.
And a quick reminder, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you're always in the loop. And if today's chat resonates with you, share it with someone who will love it too.
We are so looking forward to hanging out with you guys again in the next episode of Skin Deep and Unfiltered.